Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. How's everyone doing this week? Hope everyone is fantastic and had a great weekend. Good morning, John. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Sterling. Thank you for putting in the news, Sterling. Good morning, Patrick. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Yeah. Fed his audition. We should cut in July. Cut in July. Maybe we should cut 250 basis points. We should take this all the way down to like 2%. Let's just go to zero again. Let's go to zero. Maybe he thinks we can cut the 10-year too. All right. What else we have? We have U.S. bombing Iran over the weekend. So that was in news. But the markets are shrugging off everything. Little gap open and reversal in oil. Markets very, very complacent. Good morning. And I'm not just talking about the strike in Iran. The markets are literally shrugging off everything. So, guys, trade with the trend until the trend ends, but I am keeping an eye out for stuff. Good morning, Bull Strike Cheetah. Good morning, Dean. Hello. Good morning, Harold. All right. Did I miss anything? Good morning, Royal Palms. I think I got you. I think that's it for now. Oh, good morning, David. All right. Some more people will filter in. Well, they do. We'll take a look at what's going on this week. We got the S&P Composite Manufacturing and Services 15 minutes after the cash open. Then we have existing home sales, Bowman speaking, and Goolsby and Kugler speaking. So let's see how many people agree with Waller. Let's see how many of the other Fed members agree with Waller. Good morning. Hello, Charles. Tomorrow, we have day one of Powell's testimony. I believe first day is in front of the House banking, and then day two is in front of the Senate. So, and those are the committees. So you have 2 days of Powell testimony starting Tuesday and Wednesday. What else do we have? We have the Richmond Regional Index, but again, it's going to be what Powell's questioning. And we always have the backdrop, what's going on in the Middle East now. And separate from that, what's going on, you still have the administration. We still got the tariff overhang, so who knows? Going to sort of have to sort of sit on your, stay on your toes pretty much. Not boring. We got Powell's testimony wrapping up on Wednesday and the EIA numbers. Thursday, we have the final GDP numbers for first quarter. Remember, that's first quarter. We have jobless claims. We have durable goods. We have the PCE for the first quarter. So we have a fair amount of stuff on Thursday with more Fed speak. And then Friday, we have the PCE index. The PCE index on Friday. And then consumer sentiment, the final numbers for June. So this week, again, besides Powell testimony, is backloaded between Thursday and Friday. So far, let's just do a quick refresh here. So far, I guess Tesla's up because they started their robo-taxi with a person in the passenger seat and people remote controlling it too. But it's up a little. Hold on one second. Sorry, we got down to like 72 degrees here this morning, so the dogs are outside, so they're still outside. Had to stop them from barking, but Tesla's up a bit. Mega caps are a little mixed. Oil, even though the futures have pulled back, oil is still up and running. Energy and oil is still up and running. The groups, you see energy leading. Let's do another quick refresh here. Energy definitely leading, and everything else, you have consumer cyclical up 18 basis points, healthcare down 17. A lot of stuff is just flat in the middle besides energy. Fed Watch still has. I don't think you're getting your cut in July, Waller. 83.5% for another pause, and then the cut in September. Fear and greed on the right between neutral and greed mode. Schiller PE 36.35, not a cheap market, shrugging off everything this week. Very little key earnings. We got FedEx tomorrow afternoon. We got General Mills before the open on Wednesday. Another big one, Micron for the semi space, and Nike after close on Thursday. And that's really about it. That's really about it. All right. Good morning, Heinrich. Hey, and good morning, Anissa. Good morning, Rick. Good mic volume. All right. I'm looking for a new online broker trading platform to switch to. Can you give me the 3 best? I trade mostly futures and options. Again, I still have to go with, I used to do Thinkorswim and Interactive Brokers. Thinkorswim got bought by Schwab and went downhill. I use Interactive Brokers unless you just want futures. If you just want futures, there's a few good ones. It depends on your level of service that you want. Okay, that's really comes down. But if you want something that you do that you can mix in stocks and other things, then I'm all for still Interactive Brokers. The other nice thing about Interactive Brokers, and I don't have it, besides having accounts with Interactive Brokers, I don't get anything from them for mentioning them. The other nice thing, if you want to free up money, and you don't want to rotate it into T-bills or something else in the short term, let's say you're waiting for a pullback opportunities, they pay on cash sitting there, they pay a decent rate. They pay I think right now 3.85% on just free cash in your account, which isn't bad if you're you get out of opportunities and you're just waiting for other setups. Therefore, you don't have to force anything. So that's another benefit I really like about them. All right, now let's get to the S&P. Let's get to the S&P. I mean, it's not the easiest platform to use, but once you get the hang of it, it's fine. We opened down last night. Again, I was watching Friday's low, but we immediately reversed back up and filled the gap, coming up just above the 50% harmonic, and there's a very key level about the 60-40. All right? So I'm still watching for rollover plays unless we rally and get above 6,053. That would shift our short-term probabilities where I'd watch then for a retest of possibly the high area from last Tuesday and Monday. Okay? Now, if we roll over and start closing below Friday's low, then we'd be also below the rotation zone. And does that mean, oh my gosh, we're going to crash? Well, no. Now, there's always that, again, there's always, so we could have a bigger drop, but look, even if we pull back, we have the 50 EMA, the 200 EMA, a pretty big support base back from the end of May. All right? So that's what I'm watching for. Now, on any pullbacks, I'm still going to pay attention to the 59.32 area, then especially 58.88, 58.89. Okay? Today, if we start getting below 60.15, I'll sit up and take notice. Then it's really, if we start dropping, you see these two lows, the lows from Friday and this 4-hour low from this morning, right about 6,003, just in front of 6,000, I'll really start watching for if we start breaking below that. Other than that, you can see the 62.5 level and where we traded on Friday, a little spike above there, but a close back below. And that wasn't the 62.5 at that point because the 62.5 was there on Friday. But it still spiked above it, but could not maintain a close above it. And we got rejection there. So this is a very key level. You see this high from Friday, this 60.53 area. So those are the levels I'm really focused on. The NASDAQ, again, same difference. If we turn back down, it's not just a close below Friday. We have to get a little below that, right about 21,625. Really, I'm going to be watching the close from the key close from Friday the 13th. Okay? Because you also have that area tested with Friday's spike low. So you have the spike low from Friday and the close. That's the area I'm really watching on a close below. The rotation zone might be approximately there for the breakdown. Other than that, on the rally, I'm looking right at 21,977. We've snapped back. We've already filled the gap, but I'm still watching for rollover plays unless we close above there. If we close above there, then I'll start watching for a retest of last week's high area. the keyword being area. Forgot to pull this one up. There we go. All right. So what's the latest meme? Buy the dip, end of the world priced in. Everything's priced in at this point. I mean, things are it's just hysterical. If you look at the VIX, I mean, it's slightly out. But look, I mean, I don't know what you call our involvement now in Iran. I mean, when you bomb a country, I'm technically thinking that was a. I don't know what you call it. Anything. I mean, they called it. We're not at war with Iran. We're just at war with their nuclear program. All right, but the term war was used. So we have a VIX that's very complacent. This is just hysterical. But again, the market, let me jump back to the S&P. Is it holding the rotation zone on a closing basis? Yes. When's the last time it closed below the rotation zone? Well, we've had the first cross back in April at the end, and it hasn't closed below the rotation zone since then. So I got to keep going with the trend being up, but I am watching for longer term, we could easily still pull back into the weekly rotation zone, which wouldn't be that much of a drop. Dow, nothing to talk about still. There's no reason for me to even look at this right now. A whole bunch of nowhere. Russell's easy. Break down 2093 until that happens. That support, break out 2150, 2160, 2159, 2160 until that's key resistance. So unless there's support resistance trades or they turn into breakdown trades. The key thing, though, is if it's a breakdown trade, I then need follow through 2080 because we have the 50. We have the 50, which has proven on that dips below it. You see, we dip below it on the 22nd, dip below it on the 23rd, dip below it on the 25th, and all those were closes. Dip to it on the 13th, and it's always just bounced. So on any breakdown, I needed to follow through with a close below 2080. Bombs of peace. So, yeah, Tasty Trades. I'm sorry, I can't get over Tasty Trades' name. And I need really good rates on stuff. And that's another thing I like about Interactive Brokers, really good rates. DAX. And DAX is another one. Watching, this is a long way off. First cross the rotation zone. So any pokes in this rotation zone, I'm watching for rollover plays unless we form like maybe a double bottom and then trigger that. Other than that, it's got some heavy duty lifting. You can see if I zoom in here between the lows for the harmonics from the low on Thursday, and you look here, there's right around this 50%, just in front of this 50% harmonic, there's a fair amount of resistance. So on any rally, it's really got to do some lifting to get me into anything bullish in the short term. And you see right at the top of the rotation zone, we have the gap down open from Friday the 13th, the little reversal that filled the gap, and then it couldn't sustain anything. So I'll still be looking for rollover plays in there. If the DAX when the DAX rolls over, if it does, I mean, there's no guarantee. But then my next key, there's still a gap left here. You have a harmonic and a gap magnet still. You have a gap left from Wednesday, the 30th of April, still left behind. Right near that harmonic 22,650. The yields trying to drop a little. Still caught in a huge range, coming into another support area. And again, remember, we have the PCE numbers on Friday, the GDP numbers on Thursday. From my perspective, there's not a lot to do with yields or even the notes right now. Trying to do a little minor breakout, but nothing substantial. Got to see how that follows through today. Crude, gap up and reversal. The 4-hour double is over. This could be a daily double, but I'm not even going to put that on there yet. Again, remember, crude can change in a moment's notice. But overall, bigger picture in crude, We're up against a pretty key resistance level and in the area of the 200. So unless, I mean, I don't think Iran's going to close the strait. If they did, we'd see another breakout. But crude's now news trading. You're going to have to news trade crude. Now, on any pullback, I'd still be I'll be watching this 70 area for very key support. Natty gas. I was watching for a bounce play, nothing yet. I'm still seeing if Natty gas gets some support for another play, but it could not close above the 62.5. Gold, I'm just watching for the breakout play. These are short term. Long and medium term trend is still up. Short term needs a break above 34.13 or a breakdown below about 33.65. If it broke down below there, my next target would be back to the 30.16 harmonic. A break above 34.13, I'd at least do a stop raise on 34.61.62 area. Silver, going to be watching for another possible percent B entry tomorrow or a rotation zone entry. And then we're going to be watching for, well, I'm going to be watching. I say it like everybody's going to be watching it. Then I'm going to be watching for a potential secondary reaction. And it's key if we don't take out Friday's low and get the bounce, 36.70 roughly is a key area I need to close through. Copper, not much to talk about there just yet. Platinum, running out of little momentum with some divergences, so we may be setting up for a slightly bigger pullback in platinum, nothing yet. Dollar index is very interesting. We did not get much of a pullback. Remember, I said I was watching for a pullback for a strong bottoming pattern, and now it looks like we're going to close back above the 200. So now we have cycles at the top, nearly overbought. I will be looking for pullback buy entries in this. Okay? So, and first key area is this 99.31 and then the 50, 99.50. So that's what I'm looking for there. Euro, remember, triggered the double top. This double top was triggered back on Tuesday of last week. The price action bounced a little and held. So far, we have not hit the key first target. We're at the 25% harmonic. We're not at the 50% harmonic, 114.26. Still looking for that, especially with the dollar, what the dollar's doing. So this could either be played with a short euro or potentially a long dollar trade. So another reason I'm focused on that long dollar trade. We still have the double in place. Now it is lower probability. It's still against the daily rotation zone, trying to hold this key area. But if the 114.40 area gives up, then we could see a pretty quick pullback in the euro. The yen breaking out, coming above on Friday, getting above key support, separation of the rotation zone. So I'm going to be watching for pullback trades in the yen also. All right, that's where we sit there. Next key area, and we have this did not form a double, but next targets for me are 148.50 area, and then going to be watching to possibly form this upward sloping channel above there. Spiders technically on Friday against the rotation zone triggered a double top. That's another reason I'm watching for rollover plays. The S&P, the futures did not have a double. The spiders did. Now, still against rotation zone, but I'm watching for rollover plays in this. Unless it closes back above 650. 649 to be exact, but 650. That's the number I can keep in my head. All right? On the rollover play would be to Friday's close, 594.28. Because we're gapping up then to test the lows. You break down because this is triggered. Your targets are 590.69, 583.30, 585.90. So that is an officially triggered double top. Use what you're comfortable with, Rick. I mean, whatever you're comfortable. And there's multiple brokers you can use with Ninja. There are also multiple brokers you can use with Ninja Trader. See, this is why I like someplace that I can also true stocks with, because I can trade this double with options, spider options. I could trade it. I could just trade the futures and watch some price targets on this. I could use options on the futures. I could just do something in the spiders. I could use something in the inverse spiders if I wanted to. That's why I like a platform I can jump back and forth between multiple things. Qs confirmed but did not trigger the double top. It traded below it but closed above it. So the key level is 525.73 to trigger the double top on the Qs. This little move up did not invalidate it. Okay? It is confirmed, though. Not officially triggered in the Qs. On any rollover play would be to the gap fill 526.83. We're trading just above there, so that's not much of a trade there. And then to Friday's low. What's key also is to close below this the rotation zone 523.40. Until that happens on any bounce based off of Friday's low, 532.32 is the key closing area that then I'd have to shift to back into bull mode in the short term. Bitcoin. Over the weekend, we have a channeling double, confirming the double, but not triggering it. No trigger. And we're at oversold with cycles at the bottom. So I'm going to be patient. Watch for the bounce. We have the little separation in the rotation zone. So any move back up, I will watch for rollover plays in the short term that could possibly trigger the Bitcoin double, but I would not be aggressive on it. So Sterling bought put spreads on the spiders. All right, there you go. And there you go. That's how Sterling's playing it. I haven't used TradeStation since the 90s. Can we look at coin? Sure, hold on. Yeah, we can look at coin right now. There's your Coinbase. Remember, yeah, the inverse head and shoulders, hit the target. We haven't looked at this in a while. Hit the target and paused. And then last week had the breakout play. Closing above the 62.5. The next key areas, 323.85 is the next magnet price, where there's a lot of resistance just from pure price action. Look at this price action right here. Look, gap above, but look at all this areas closing right around here. Gap above and close below, gap above, close below. Finally, a close above, but then it couldn't sustain it and then retest it. And look at that with the 87.5. So that would be very key. Very key. Now, in the short term, there was another resistance shelf right here. Why did I choose the wrong line? Right there. So today you're going to be watching for the close right above 300. And any pullbacks to that area, that's now very key support. But the magnet price, and I definitely take actions around this 323, 324 area. There, you got some there. Jacob likes TradeStation. There you go. So that's very key. Other thing in the news, we got Tesla. Tesla still, the only way I can get bullish in the short term is the close above 332.27. And then it'd be 344 target. And then possibly 355. But still just in this tight trading range. NVIDIA still holding the rotation zone in the wedge. Nothing to talk about there. Broadcom back down the bottom of the rotation zone on Friday, but bouncing. Again, all this stuff's caught in a range. A lot of this stuff is caught in a range. AMD could be interesting, but AMD I now need something with a pullback into a more substantial. This is looking very toppy up here. I need a bigger pullback there. What else do we have? Again, there's not a lot of fantastic setups unless you're in stuff already. Amazon had a potential double top here, which was confirmed on Friday. I was watching the close below 209.62 because still long from the double bottom, and got the close of 209.69. Okay, so that was all right. Why was I watching this? Because stalling out, have trouble getting the final target right here, and if it closes, that triggers a little minor double. So I could easily get a bigger pullback that would not invalidate the double bottom for potential re-entry. I've been trading options for years and now want to trade futures. Any advice? What? I know it's not financial. Well, again, if you're just getting into trading futures, trade the micros. Trade the micros because you can position size really well. You don't have to take a lot of risk. Now, your commissions are going to be your commissions. That's the bigger challenge with trading the micros. But again, you can trade micros in a lot of different things. You can trade it in the NASDAQ, the S&P, Russell. You can trade micros. You have the micro yields. You have micro crude. You have micro gold and silver. So that's my advice, because it's a little different once you start trading, and there's some nuances. But you can take very little risk in the micro futures. Yeah, something can come out of nowhere and it can move against you or even move for you depending on your position. But you're still not going to get hit that bad, even if something shocking comes out and you're the wrong way. So that's my suggestion to anybody looking to trade futures is just learn with the micros, and learn also how to position size, and learn how to take partial profits. That's why I always suggest, even if you're trading small, don't trade one micro, always trade two. It gives you options to at least take something off once some key levels are hit, and then possibly keep something on for a bigger runner. All right. So what do we have? Let's just see where the ticket opened. The futures. Little mini double top. Little mini double. That's only a 5-minute double. Futures, very flat opening. Look at that. Only minus, 300 open. Spiking down just below 400. Not a big negative opening there. So, looks like that's already run away. But you got this pretty strong support base down here. So I'll be watching. Remember, 6,003 areas key for me for any breakdown. Other than that, that's pretty key support. Yeah, index micros are great for learning. DJT has a potential daily, weekly double bottom. They just announced a $400 million buyback this morning. Yeah, I trust you that you did it. I just got it. Yep. And is that valid on the targets? Oops. Yeah, with the conservative, and I would definitely use the conservative targets on that one if it were to trigger. But it's a long way off from triggering. Long way off from triggering that. All right. So if I was looking for a front run on that one, I'd need it to start. Look at where the 62.5 is, right at the breakdown double top area. I'd have to start. It'd have to get above 24 for me because it's still. You got the rotation zone against it. So this has to do or set up another bottoming pattern before I'd even attempt to front run that. Okay, everyone. I'm just going to peek at the NASDAQ. What is selling pressure in the NASDAQ? So you already know what I'm looking at today. Sterling's already got the put spread on. Already spotted the double. Again, these aren't guarantees. Just because something triggers, you still have to manage the position. Nothing is guaranteed in this business. So just because Sterling has it on and a double top was triggered, you know, you still have to manage it. But Sterling, I commend you. Great job seeing that. Great job putting it on. I like that you put it on with the spread. And with that, hope everyone has a wonderful trading day. And this is one Sterling. If it does continue to run, I'd really pay attention to that 50. If it runs below that 585.90, I'd really pay attention to that 50 EMA. Right around, look at this. Look at this support right around there with that 50 EMA. That could be interesting if this continues to roll over. It's got to get below this rotation zone, though. Again, the spiders have not had a close below the rotation zone since the first cross. Now it's flattening out, so that's what I'm looking for, but that's where we got to follow through. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful trading day, and I shall talk to you all tomorrow morning. Bye for now.